Blessings up, blessings up, blessings up, future mogul. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Just Being Candid with me, your host, Candid Mac. Now, you could have been anywhere in the world listening to any podcast in the world, but you decided to listen to me and give me your attention for the next 20 minutes. And I highly respect that, and I highly appreciate it, and I thank you. Now let's get into this episode. Today, I'm calling it therapy sessions because I want to share with you my journey of my process of going through therapy. I've been in therapy for it's going to be 5 years. No, it is 5 years. It's going to be 6 years in November. But I'm going to tell you my reasons why I went to therapy. I'm going to share with you how I went about finding a therapist and my first impressions. Then we're going to go to the benefits. Has it been beneficial for me? I mean, if I've been in therapy for going on 6 years, definitely some benefits. And I'm going to close it out with ways you could find a therapist. You know, after I share my experiences and things of that nature, you might say, I want to have a therapist. I want to give it a try. I'm going to share with you how I found a therapist, how you can find one. So without further ado, let's get into this session, or this episode, therapy sessions. Okay. So, why did I go to therapy? First, I just want to say, I did have that stereotype about, you only go to therapy if you have like crazy problems, real problems. Well, let me not say real problems, but like in my opinion, I felt like if there was like some type of sexual assault, physical abuse, suicidal thoughts. I just thought like the highest level of mental health that there is, that's when you need therapy. And I realized it didn't really have to be that case. And I'm not going to take credit like I just came up with that discovery myself. I was a heavy follower of the Breakfast Club. I'm like I catch him when I can type of follower, but when Charlemagne was talking about mental health and getting therapy and, you know, just seeing the progress that he had, I decided to give it a go. But there was strong reasons why I decided to give it a go. And one of the reasons is, at one point in my life, I was at like the lowest point of my life. I mean, the rock bottom, under the rocks, that's on the bottom type of life. At that point, I think it was early, 2015-ish, I had decided to end a 8-year relationship, and that came with the consequences because, you know, we wasn't living in our own apartment. You know, we were staying with her mother and stepfather, you know, at the time. And sometimes you just wake up and you're like, you know what, this ain't it. But that's another story for another podcast for another day. Let me land the plane. So when I ended that relationship, the consequences that it came was I didn't have my own place. So I had to couch hop. You know, I lived with one friend at the time. I lived with her for a couple of months. Then I lived with my aunt, and then I lived with a cousin, then I lived with a friend. Like, I was just bouncing around all these places. I didn't really have stability until I went back to my aunt's for for a year or something like that. Then I lived with my cousin because I had a little more space there. I mean, I lived in the living room, but It was more space, more things to do. My mom was like not strict, but she was older, so there were certain things that I wanted to do that I couldn't do, um, which was another mistake, which is another story for another day. But whatever, I'm full of stories. So anyway, I was at one of the lowest places of my life. I was couch hopping. Um, I wasn't broke. I was strongly, heavily financially challenged. Like I had like a part-time job at like a salad bar. I was working at like a hotel as a hotel guest. Worked at grocery stores. Like I had like all these different odd jobs, and then I was also um, curating these beat battles, which it made money, but I had to reinvest that money for the next battle. So that wasn't like putting money in my pocket. We was breaking even all the time, or if we had extra money, it went towards the business. So that was one thing. Just I wanted to figure out how to get out that low point. Um, the second thing was the year before therapy, like 2018 is when I started therapy. It was actually November 2nd, 2018. That's when I started therapy. But the year before that, I found out that my mom had breast cancer, and that was just like a rude awakening. It was like in stage 3 at that time, and she kept it from us for a while, and I found out, and it kind of like shook me up because you're like, man, mom, like it's nothing like finding out your mom has an illness that there's no cure for, and you have no money to help. You can only be there for moral and emotional support. And that's what I was. I went to see my mom all the time when I could. Um, like, I found out how to scrape my coins up to go see her. And I'm not going to lie, she also helped me with, like, traveling. She helped me with some financial needs as well. I'm not even going to lie about that. But that also made me feel bad. It's like, my mom over here, you know, I don't say dying, but at the time she was sick and going to chemo, and then she would like put money in my bank account because she knew that I was struggling and I wasn't asking for money. But it was just dealing with that. And then lastly, like I always knew, and well, presently, I always know I'm going to be successful. Like I always saw the person I wanted to be. Like I always was able to envision that and dream about like the connections I'm gonna make and dream about the rooms I'm gonna be in. Even when I was on the couch, broke, no money in my pocket, no food sometimes. Like I know that rock bottom. Like I know what it's like to survive with a bag of chicken patties from Western Beef for an entire month. I know how to make chicken patties all types of ways. All types of ways. Um, but I wanted to unlock that version of myself that I know I can be, and I didn't know like what am I doing wrong where I can't get there, or why I'm not there. Is it me? Is it the people around me? Is it a mixture of both? Like what is it? So that's the reason why I went to therapy. Um, so how did I find my therapist? Because I've been with her for going on 6 years. Um, First I said I need therapy. Second, I went through my insurance. Like I had insurance at the time, and that insurance at the time, I, went on the website. I did like the regular search, when you filter it out and put in what you want. It came up with different names, and I filtered through them. I actually contacted one lady, but she was virtual out the gate. Like she was out the gate virtual, and I gave it a shot, but I didn't like the experience. Like at that particular point, I wanted someone who was in person. just to feel the vibes. Like the virtual out the gate, I wasn't really feeling the vibes. So I canned that one. And also, let me just be clear. I was intentionally looking for a black female therapist. So that made the therapy pool even tougher because I realized when it came from the state of New York, there was a limited amount of black therapists out there. So the next thing I went to, because the insurance listing it wasn't the best on the site, so I went to Psychology Today, and I did the same thing. I did the filters, put in my state, all that stuff that I'm looking for, and a few names popped up, and I saw my therapist, and I saw her picture, and her picture was like vibrant and like happy. Like just the picture alone was like, yeah, I'm gonna see what she's about. So I went to her website. I read about her, read her bio, read her credentials. I did a little more digging, did more research about her, and I was like, okay, we gonna try her out. I'm feeling her, and I emailed her. No, I booked the session. When you go on the site, it's like, oh, book here for a free 15-minute session, yada 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 assessment. So I did that, and we had our first consultation. And in that consultation, she said, "Why do you want therapy?" And I said, "I want to get off the couch. I live in the projects in the South Bronx. I'm sleeping on my cousin's couch. I have no money. I work part-time at a library. I need to change this whole situation. So maybe it's something that I'm doing, something I'm not doing, but I want you to be a part of the process to help me figure it out. Because I know I'm great. I know I'm great, but I'm just not in a great situation." And she was like, okay. And we chit-chatted for a little bit, and she asked a little bit more about me and my past. And I let her know, I was like, listen, I had a really great childhood. I never had to want for anything. My mom, she had her one income, and she did wonders with her income. Like, I never had a bad Christmas. I never had a bad birthday. I was never sexually assaulted. I was never raped. I was never abused. I was never talked down on. My mom always put words of affirmations and upliftment in me. Like, she always told me I can be great, but I personally am doing something wrong where I can't unlock the greatness. So she was like, cool. Because the question she was asking, I was just like, listen, I had a great childhood. I was a privileged South Bronx girl. I went to a Catholic school. I went to after-school programs. I went to down south for the summer. I had a great childhood. My best friend always calls me like a privileged princess as a kid. So after talking, we had our first session, like our first real session, in person. I went to her office in New York. I didn't lay on the couch. I sat on the couch. And in that first session, I'm telling her about things. I'm telling her about what I'm going through, et cetera, et cetera. And she said, the decisions we make reflect how we feel about ourselves. And I was like, man, that's deep. And then she started talking about the mindset, and I was just telling her different things. And she was like, well, my first step is I have to stop blaming others. I didn't know I was upset at a lot of people that, I thought would be there when times was hard, when things got real, and they was like nowhere to be found, or they were around, but I started seeing their true character from when I had it to when I didn't have it. And it made me upset. And at the time, I like to avoid conflict, so I didn't say anything. I just kept it inside. And she helped me build through that. And that one session, I was like, yeah, I'm sticking with her. So at that time, I did therapy weekly. It was every Friday I went to therapy. I remember that like clockwork. Every Friday, my appointment was at 12:15 to 1:15 in New York City, and I would go. I would not miss a day. I remember I told my mom I was getting therapy, and she was like, "What do you need therapists for? You got me." I was like, "Yeah, I can't tell you everything I've been through, because then you'll be like, I'm coming to New York right now. I'm going to throw holy oil on you in the name of Jesus," because my mom was a pastor. So I could have told her everything. Like, I told her majority of things, but there was like a good 5%, 5 to like 7% of things about my life. I was just like, you don't need to know, because you're going to come and put holy oil on all my friends, especially the ones that you thought were cool, weren't really cool to me. But yeah, that was my experience, and she actually walked me through that. She walked me through. At that point, like years later, 2 years later, my mom had passed away. She transitioned, and she, guided me through grief, and I didn't know there was like different stages of grief. So she guided me through those stages of grief. Um, but the benefits that I received from therapy was I learned methods of not becoming the environment that I'm in. Remember, the decisions you make reflect how you feel about yourself. And the reason why I'm saying that again is because the decisions I made was based around the environment that I was in, because it had put me in a certain mentality. I'm in the ghetto. I'm around people that don't really care about growing in their life. Um, I'm in an environment where it's like drugs and alcohol, and I had to just change my mentality. I had to not become that, like she said. So some methods was like my communication. I had to start setting boundaries at that point in my life. You know, um, what I'm not doing, what I don't want around me, who I do want around me. Um, I started surrounding myself with successful people. At that time, I was working at Queens Public Library. I was co-running the entrepreneurship department. I was the entrepreneurship coach, and then I became an entrepreneurship counselor. But I pretty much brought in different speakers and partners. I did different panels. I taught different classes. I produced a pitch deck competition. I was really growing in that position, and I got to meet different people, and I just started building relationships. And it's nothing like being around people that's doing better than you, because you can do it. Like, I've never been the one to hate, be like, oh, look at them, they got the watch that I want, or they got the career that I want to be in, and X, Y, Z. It was never like I didn't like them. It was like, no, I want to be around them because, one, they're cool. I was about to curse. I'm not gonna curse, but they're cool, good people, and I can learn from them. I can ask questions, so I can know how to get there. What steps do I need to take to get to my next level? And the people that I asked, they all shared it with me, and those relationships, brought me in rooms that I always imagined being in, and I'm actually there in reality. So that was the cool part. Um, Another method was I had to understand that the situation I was in at the time was temporary. There was times where I'd be like, oh man, God, are you ever gonna get me out of this? Like, how long am I gonna be sleeping on this couch? How long am I not gonna have my own place? Like, I was just like thinking like it was never gonna end. I had to change the mindset again. Like, it's temporary. Start preparing for the apartment. Start preparing for the career. And that's what I started doing. And I started reading a lot of books about mindset, um, goal setting. I read a lot of books about goal setting, listened to a lot of podcasts about goal setting, to now where I teach kids goal setting. Um, Another thing was a benefit that I took away from therapy was, like I said earlier, I was able to process my mom's death. Um, and trust me, I didn't get over her passing. It still hurts to this day. There's days where I look at her picture and I'll just think about all the good memories. And then there's days where, like, I accomplished something very successful, very meaningful, and she was always my first phone call. And now it's like, I have nobody to call like that, because it's not the same reaction. There's days where I'll just cry about that. Like, man, I don't have my mom to call X, Y, Z. But I don't sit in it and dwell in it where now I'm like sad for 3-4 days. I just have the moment and I move forward in a healthy way. And also recently, at the top of the year, my aunt just passed, and that was like my second mom. And I was trying to deal with it by myself, and I couldn't. So I emailed her like, hey, told her what happened. And she met with me like 2 days later. And we had the conversation about that. Dealing with the truth is another benefit. I used to take people's criticism as hate. Not hate, but I was just like, oh, they're just saying that because they probably don't like me, or they're jealous of me, whatever, because I'm coming up in X, Y, Z. But there's some feedback that is beneficial for you, and there's some feedback that people's just hating on you, to be honest with you. And I had to learn the difference, and I had to learn with when people told me the truth, that they're not telling me the truth to hurt me. It was to make me better. And I learned that in therapy, because she would tell me the truth about myself. And when I brought in certain situations, she was like, well, you handled that wrong, or you was the problem in that situation, and then you let it linger to where it became this, and now here you are. So just learn how to handle the truth. Another plus is I'm not in the projects no more. That's a success story from therapy. She literally helped me figure out where I needed to be, the things I needed to do, and I just took those steps. And I did my due diligence. I did my work. And I went from living in the projects in the South Bronx, sleeping on the couch with no money, to now I live in Dallas, Texas, in the high rise, doing what I love. Like, that's one thing. I do what I love. Ever since 2018, when I was in therapy, I've always did what I love. I didn't have no BS job anymore. I have a career. I have a career, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of having a career. I'm proud of having a side business in public speaking, where I go to schools and I teach kids about having goals, because this is where I was and this is where I'm at now, and I teach them that. So I'm proud of that. That's when I say what's some of the successes about therapy. It really helped me transform my mindset and get through things and breakthroughs to be where I'm at now. And I also, so like I said, I started out in therapy weekly. So I went from weekly to bi-weekly to now monthly, or every other month, because right now in my opinion, I don't have a lot of things going on where it's like I need my therapist. But I'm actually going to get back to doing a consistent bi-weekly, because now that I'm in Dallas and I don't know anybody, there's certain aspects that I deal with, and I do feel like I need to get back with speaking to her like on a bi-weekly basis, and then we can go back to a monthly basis. But yeah, those are the benefits right there. And this November, it makes 6 years. I can't believe that. Like, I can't believe that I've had the same therapist and it's been 6 years. Like, That's some of the stuff that I can't believe, but I'm very happy about it. Now, after I gave you that spiel and I told you about my journey through therapy and how it's helped me and why I did it and the breakthroughs that I have, you might be saying, you know what, Candid? I think I want to go to therapy. I don't have no real issues either, but I got some issues. So how do I find a therapist? Well, let me tell you, future mogul, this is how you find a therapist. First things first, like I said, ask yourself, why do you need therapy? Because I've been going in with a goal. Like you going, this is why I want to be here. I need you to fix this. Let's work on this first, because this is the most important thing to me that I want to work on. And then we can go to B, C, D. So make your list of priorities. Like I said, my priority was getting out the projects and having my own and becoming the version of myself I know I could be. So make your list. Then you want to do your research. Like I said, check with your insurance agency, your insurance provider, and see if they cover, I guess it's mental health services like therapy and things like that of that nature. See how much it's going to cost you first, because some insurance don't cover it. Some do. You might have to pay up front and then provide them with an invoice and they'll pay you back. So make sure that your insurance covers it, or you can come out of pocket. That's solely on you. Like, I'm not here to tell you what to do. Just know your financial options. Do your research on the therapist after you. I recommend like Psychology Today, your insurance provider's search engine when it comes to filtering and finding a doctor. Check that out. And when you find the names, do your own Google research. Go on Google, look them up. See if they have reviews. See if they have a picture. I'm sorry if you don't have a picture. I can't work with you, but that's just my preferences. Go by your preferences, but I need a picture. And then go on ZocDoc. This is not a ZocDoc ad, but ZocDoc, go on ZocDoc and look up that same therapist that you found on your insurance or on Google or on Psychology Today. Go on there and see if they have any reviews. Because ZocDoc has the real reviews too. So you want to go there on ZocDoc and see if they have reviews and things of that nature. And lastly, I also say interview your therapist. Like I said, I didn't start out with her. I saw one therapist. I also saw another therapist too. Because they offer 15-minute sessions, like assessment sessions. And I took advantage of it. And I went to 2 different ones before I landed on the one I had, just to feel the vibes. You don't have to go out the gate with the first one you see. This is your life that you're going to be talking about to a complete stranger. You have to be able to build a relationship with that person. You have to be able to be comfortable to share certain personal aspects about your life. So you definitely want to interview therapists. Do not be ashamed of that. Be like, make a session. Be like, I wasn't like that. I'm gonna go find another one. I don't like that. I'm gonna go find another one. So do that. Even Goldilocks ate a couple of porridges before she found the one that was just right. So I recommend interviewing them. But as I was, typing out the podcast, making my notes about this session, I like to close out my podcast with a scripture for those who's new to the show. I've been doing this the last episode, so it's kind of new. But it brought me to Proverbs 12, verse 15. And like I said, it's Proverbs 12, verse 15. This is the King James Version. And the scripture said, "The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he who heeds counsel is wise." So remember, it's okay to seek advice. It's okay to get counsel, because you can't do everything yourself. You can't fix every single problem. Sometimes you need someone else to come in that has experience and give you the real. So I hope that this episode, Therapy Sessions, was beneficial to you. You understand my process of why I seek therapy and why I continue with it. And I hope that it encouraged you to, give therapy a try. If you've been like, oh, I don't know, give it a try. But thank you, Future Mogul, for listening. I appreciate your support. If you haven't done so, please, if you're on Spotify, Apple, follow the show. Hit that follow button. Go to the main page of Just Being Candid and scroll down and give me a review. Put in, leave a review. Tell me what you like about the podcast, what you don't like about the podcast. The audio's messed up. I talk too low. I talk too fast. Whatever it is, if there's a topic you want me to talk about, leave it in the comments. I'm gonna check it out, and I'm gonna take that feedback well. And also, if you're on social media, if you're on Instagram, you can follow me. It's Just Be Candid. That's JUSTBECANDID. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. Blessings up. I wish you nothing but prosperity, good spirits, good energy. Stay blessed. You are Future Mogul.